like a game show. Hey guys!
Hello, everyone.
Sorry.
Welcome.
What's up, guys? All right, I am your beautiful host, Paul, today, and
So beautiful, so beautiful.
beautiful co-host, Sarah States and Andrew Peaks.
Ooh, thank you, thank you. Very quickly, I would like to point out the fact that we are not mental health professionals. We are just regular people trying to tell our stories with mental health, hoping other people in the end will do the same. Make sure that that is always out there. Without further ado, though, this week we are lucky enough to be listening to Paul's story that he is going to be presenting. So, Paul, whenever you are ready, let's take it away and get going.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm Paul. I was born in the Philippines until I was 3 years old, and I moved to San Francisco. I grew up there, Bay Area kid. Yeah, and then I talking about mental health. I didn't really have any remembrance until junior high. Junior high was really, I guess, the tough part of my life because I was really bullied back then. I was bullied because of course, I was a short guy, and then yeah, and then it's just like I was picked on just because of that, and there's a lot of peer pressure went into it, and being just getting everybody's approval, um, and then with that combined with not a healthy household with my parents always fighting, uh, it was just not a good growing up for me. I guess I had everything like we talked about on the last episode. Like I had a real good house. I like every time like my parents would fight, like they would like they would like give me something whatever I want. I guess that's kind of like I don't know, like they covered it up with presents for me and my siblings. So they would see like, oh, let's just give them whatever they want, so they would think everything's okay. So yeah, I don't know if you guys experienced that, but like that comes into like me not really being so open as I am right now. Like I was really shy back then. I wouldn't talk to anybody. Like I just wanted to be alone. Like most of the time. Like I was like I just like I didn't even want my parents to go to like my school plays or whatever because I just had this like shame about myself because I guess I always thought of myself as like so down on myself. Like there's something wrong with me because everybody bullied me. So yeah, and then throughout that time, I guess the only thing that really like helped me was like music. So listened to a lot of like I would listen to a lot of like R&B and hip hop. I would listen to a lot of Biggie, a lot of Tupac, a lot of all those things. So those things really saved me and just listening to it. So I guess so it's like therapy for me that knowing that these people are also going through it. So yeah, and then moving on to high school, I guess that's when I really opened up. People are, I guess, more open when they came to high school. So like throughout that time, I was the kid that's kind of like people went to me as like to go to their with problems. So people would be like, oh, like if they had like relationship problems, they would like go to me and I would give them advice. And if they had like friendship problems, they would go to me. I went to like so in my junior high, I was in a Catholic school, and then high school I was in a like Christian born again like high school. So I was like, my parents are very religious. So yeah, and then and then there was like a lot of pressure from my parents just like doing good, and I had to like prove a lot to them. So yeah, and then I always had like also my codependency started becoming, I guess that's the root of my codependency problems, because like I didn't have any friends back in junior high. Now I started to have friends, and I was like in every sport, and like I was like elected to be in the student government and stuff like that. And then I guess throughout that time I was kind of like dependent on other, not like dependent on other people, but I kind of want not to be alone anymore because I had these friends. So yeah, and then that's kind of like the, I guess, the root of my codependency now that I'm working on. And then that's when I got introduced to like drinking and then smoking weed and then drugs and stuff like that. So yeah, and then moving on to college, uh, like that's when I really realized I'm living on my own and realize how hard it is living on my own. Cause you know, like my parents would pay for my tuition, but they would also teach me like, hey, like they taught me how to like really live on my own because they didn't want me to be dependent on them because of money. So like they were like, you're gonna pay for your rent, you're gonna pay for everything that if you wanted to go to like your clubs or whatever, your trips, you're gonna have to earn your own money and stuff like that. So that really kept me busy, and I didn't realize I had anxiety back then because I guess my busyness covered my anxiety. So yeah, and it's just the struggle of just also proving myself to my parents still existed. And then yeah, and then now moving on to my adult life, like working and so many jobs and stuff like that, still like I didn't realize I had anxiety because like I had so many jobs. I would work from like 4 a.m. till until like 2 a.m. the next morning because I would work for Starbucks early in the morning, and then I would have like a retail jobs, and then I would work for LinkedIn, and then I would I was in the middle of building my own blog, and then so yeah, and then I really wanted to just keep myself busy because I know that if I don't keep busy, if I would like keep thinking of bad things about myself. So yeah, and then and then after that, I realize now how bad my anxiety is, and that now that I'm really just like relaxing after like so many years of like working, like seeing the fruits of my labor, like now I see how bad my anxiety is. It's just like I realize like it's hard just to living on like not living on my own, but like living with this mental anxiety, how hard it was, and being codependent. And now it's just like I hate just like living by myself because I'm like I moved to a new country now, and just being in this country and just living on my own, I don't really know anybody. So yeah, and now it's just hard now. I don't know if you guys have any questions now.
Yeah, I have a bunch. First of all, I mean, I know Paul. Paul, I met probably like 6 months ago now, 7 months ago for the first time. We were just at a hostel in the Philippines, and if you would have met him the day I met him, or the week I met him, there would be no assumption in your mind that this man has ever been shy. I don't know if I've ever met someone who was more outgoing and like always in your face, ready to go, go, go. Let's do this. We're gonna have a great time. Everybody's gonna have a great time, no matter what. It like was consistent with him. So Paul, for me, like I want to know where you think that other like you said you had people coming in and asking you questions and always being there. Is that what opened you up? Was it the bullying that maybe opened you up once you started to get a little more confident with who you are? Maybe you started to like kind of jump on that and kind of be excited about who I am, and therefore it comes out as more of a like I'm ready to go kind of style than it would be your shy, quiet, the Paul that I
Like
can't believe exists.
yeah, I guess like people like actually wanted to talk to me. It was like so new to me and it's just like having that having that feeling. I always wanted it, so I kind of opened me up. It kind of pushed me. Also being in like basketball, like having that like coach where it's like, that hard hitting coach that you always see in the movies. I had that kind of coach because he always had to push us. Like it was like so insane. Like my work ethic like came from my coach in basketball because we would have practice like early in the morning, and then we would have a special class just for us basketball people, which is like advanced PE, which is basically just practice during the day. And then we would have practice at like 5 p.m. and we would have to join a sport during our non-season just to help us condition. So it was just my work ethic came all the way from him. But like, yeah, just like you were saying, it was, I guess, like like people coming up to me, it made me feel special, like, and it really, but at the same time, like I kind of felt, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing now, because now I crave that now. Like, you know what I mean? I can't, I'm like so codependent now. I think I have like codependent issues just because like I always want to fix people's problems. Like I always want to meddle in people's problems. Like, you know what I mean? Like I always say like, oh, like I have to fix you. Like, so yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah. So, any more questions?
Oh, I have a ton.
Well, there's like so many things that I want to talk about. Just lay off for a second. There's so many things that I want to talk about too. Sorry.
Get out of here. There's other people.
You're stealing the spotlight. Like, what was I thinking? Oh, so I think it's so interesting, like how once you found a spot to sort of like fit in, you blossomed. That sounds so lame, but I think it's kind of true. Like, I feel like when I was I feel like right now it's so interesting to see on social media, like people that I wasn't really friends with in high school or middle school, but like they were like acquaintances, or like we said hi in the hallway or whatever. And like some of these people were people who were bullied, or people who were like kind of like on the outskirts of like different cliques and things like that. And they're flourishing now. Like they're living their best lives. Like they are, successful. They're happy. They like have families. They're like, living in these big cities. And I'm just like, wow, like, I think once you get out of that sort of bubble of school and high school, and like, you really have the opportunity to establish yourself the way you want to.
Yeah.
And I think like you like are finally living like this life that you knew you could live, but like you were too oppressed by like your peers to like fully get there. And I think that's like something that I'm seeing more now. And then as far as like codependency, I had to Google it because I was like, what is this codependency that Paul is speaking of? Like, I didn't really know what it was. I'm still not really sure what it is, but I think it's like it's like, what?
I know.
Oh, is
some
Whitney Cummings
famous.
talk about it?
I know some famous person suffers from codependency pretty intensely. Actually, you know what? AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I believe, does.
Really? Oh, so it's like when you are reliant on other people?
Right, yeah.
Or
you're under the impression that like you always need someone with you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, once again, this is not in any way a medical diagnosis of codependency, but yeah, you're just always looking for gratification. You're always looking for other people. You always want to be around other people. You feel like you can't do things alone. It's just whether anxiety.
I wonder, do you think it's just like relates to people, or also like substances? I guess you could probably be codependent on a substance too, or is that just like?
That's just a dependency.
More like
that's not codependency. That's a dependency.
Okay. Teaching me real things. Okay.
As we should not be doing.
Okay, we can discuss it. We can discuss it.
Yes. Absolutely. We can.
So can you like talk a little bit further, Paul, about like how, like where you are today, like literally today, and how
So
codependency plays a role in your life now?
it's just how codependency played on me now. It's just like it's really hard for me to have relationships now. Like especially with my parents fighting, like even like friendships, like it's hard for me to maintain friendships now because now I realize how bad my codependency is. Because like every time I start a friendship now, it's just like I feel like I feel like they're gonna screw me over, and I feel like I have to I have to fix it, even though there's nothing going on. Like even though there's nothing going on or like nothing wrong is going on, I always feel like there's something going on, and that like that I have to fix something to help me attach me to that person. You know, so
Mm.
it's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's just like I realize that now, like the past few weeks. It's just like how like I always need to find something bad in that person so I can attach myself to that person and help fix it. So they can be
Oh,
reliant on me. So I can be their friend. You know, so
yeah.
do you get what I'm
So
saying?
yeah, you think you're looking for control a little bit?
It's not control. It's just like I don't want to control them. Like I just want to be able to say, I don't know. It's like, I just want to be able to like be friends with them. Cause I feel like if I don't, if I don't help fix them, they're not going to need me anymore. Like,
Oh, yeah. And you mentioned how, like, in your school days, how, like, you were the person that people would go to, like, help them with this problem or, like, talk to about with this. So, like, obviously that's affected your adult life too.
yeah, like my principal, we would have like, in like movies, like in like movies, they have like assembly in like the gym or whatever. So in my Christian high school, we would have assembly in like the gym every morning. And then my principal would talk. And then my principal literally called me out, and he was like, "Oh, here's Dr. Phil coming into this coming into the gym." I'm like, "Whoa." I'm like,
Oh,
Wow.
it's a
it was
well-known thing.
it's a well-known thing, and I was like literally every single person that had relationship problems or like friendship problems, even like the staff, they would like come to me. I'm like, what am I
You seem to
doing
show,
here?
Paul. You ever seem
Like,
to
Was that
show sex education.
I'm 14 years old. I'm like,
Teachers are coming up to you about their divorces.
yeah, they're just like, oh my god, like, because like my school was very small, like, and it was just like they would like come to they would like come to me, and we would have this class called office admin, which is basically just you just help around like the office and like make copies for like the school or whatever the school needs. So it's basically
oh
yeah, so it's
free
basically,
labor?
yeah,
Are you working for the school? What school is this?
it's like yeah, so it's just, I would come in, and then the reception would be like, "Oh my
And
god, I'm gonna fight with my husband, blah blah blah. What should I do?" Like, what's going on? I'm 14 years
we,
old.
we had school admin when we'd have to teach a class of physics to a bunch of students just to get it out of the way.
I'm like, yeah, and it really affected me because like I was just like now it's really hard for me to have friendships, and it's just I don't know, like I'm still trying to fix that about myself, and it's just and my anxiety was just I don't know, I'm trying to fix my anxiety as well about like because if I guess that's where my anxiety stems from, like I guess like not being alone is not good for me anymore. I don't like it, because even though back in junior high, all I wanted to do was be alone, but now it's just like I can't be alone. Like I
You-
like this pandemic really made me think about a lot about myself, So
Wait, so you originally like were really into being alone, And then you kind of like became this point person for other people's problems. Like, was that something that you wanted or something that like just
It
sort of
just,
fell on your lap?
it just literally just happened because I was just like friends with
Yeah.
people. And then I guess I don't know who I gave advice to. And then people just started coming to me. And people were just like, I guess because I was so active in school, like I was part of student government. I was like, I was athletic and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
I trusted my decisions. So, yeah. And,
So-
my parents would not, would be so busy. And I guess people would like come to my house and just like come to me and like, ask for advice and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So then now when you're saying like it's hard for you to cultivate friendships and things like that, do you think it's because like you don't want to be alone, like you want to have these friends, but you're like protecting yourself because you don't want to become like that sort of just like person who's like just there to give advice all the time?
Yeah. And a lot of people also uh like has taken like advantage of me like
Yeah.
past. And it's just like a lot of people would take advantage of me of either like favors or like money
Mm.
and stuff like that. So uh yeah, and it's just like now it I kind of have to like find ways to figure out if the friendship is real or not by just fixing them. So I just find
Yeah.
problems like, oh yes, Peach, you can ask me about that.
Awesome. Yeah. So I just wanted to know, and I wanted to ask. So, like, Paul, a little bit about your sexuality. Obviously, you're going to tell us, but what role did that have in like either making you more outgoing, or maybe that bullying that you saw in junior high? What role did that kind of play, and when did it all kind of unfold?
Like the bullying in junior high was not because of my sexuality, but it was more because I was small, you know.
Oh, just
But
yeah.
yeah, and then now, like I guess like people think I'm outgoing because I'm really good with like I always tell this to like my business partners back then that I'm really good with like conversations, like if it's like a dinner or whatever, like one on one. But I get super shy when it's like a presentation. Like if we were like to do a conference, like a conference presentation of like a company, I would be so shy. Like I can't do that. But if it's like one on one, having a dinner, having a drink, I can be really social. But like that I guess like I'm very reserved in some ways. But like my sexuality hasn't really been a factor, you know, because everybody, I guess in my head, I guess everybody knew, you know, so I always thought like, oh, everybody knows already. So, so I always just acted the way I acted. So, yeah, I mean, when I came out, and then like I came out to one of my fraternity brothers. I took him out to dinner, and Peaks knows the story. And like I took him out to dinner, and I was like, "Oh, I have to tell you something." And he was like, "Oh, what?" And then I was like, "Oh, I kind of like guys too." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I know." And then I was kind of I was like kind of pissed because I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a whole Instagram thing. I'm gonna make a video."
You ruined my coming out story.
This is unbelievable. This has been a this is a big moment for my life.
I'm gonna go viral on YouTube. I'm gonna go viral on Instagram. I was wanting to make this whole thing, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, we know what the fuck's going on."
So
I love that.
with that, Paul,
Yes.
Go ahead. You can ask your question.
it's a continuation question. I don't want to.
Okay.
So, Paul, with coming out, so obviously it happened in college. You just said because it happened with one of your fraternity brothers. How long before did you know? Were you aware?
I was different ever since I was. Well, I didn't know I was different until like
I want like the specific different. I mean,
like
everybody's a little different here and there.
I know that like I like guys, or when did I know that like liking guys was different?
No, when did you know that you liked guys?
Like when I was little, uh like when I was like 8.
So with all that time in between, if you know that and you never say something, I mean that's got to weigh on you a little bit, right? Like you're saying it didn't have a huge factor, but
I didn't really think it was a big deal. Like,
oh,
you know,
okay.
I didn't think it's like, you know, like, cause like I grew up watching South Park and like The Real World and like Jerry Springer, and everything was just so explicit. So everything was just like, I guess being this, it wasn't. I really thought it's not a big deal. So everything was so explicit back then, you know.
Yeah.
Growing up in the '90s, like you would see like HBO, like you know, watching like late night and stuff like that. So yeah, I didn't think it was kind of like a big deal, but like, so I just acted the way I acted. So yeah.
That's awesome actually. But Sarah, sorry, you take it over now.
Well, yeah, I was gonna go off on a tangent, so it's good that you asked your question. But I'm just so curious, Paul. Have you ever taken a Myers-Briggs personality test?
No, what is that?
Oh my gosh, you have to take it. It's like there's like 16 personality like types that are identified by this test.
Ooh.
And it just asks you questions and you have to answer them, and then it tells you, like, for example, I am an INF. Well, what it tells me is I'm an INFJ. So like even though I feel like I'm like extroverted enough that I can like start conversation with someone, or like with my friends I'm really extroverted, technically it says that I'm like more introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging.
Ooh.
Mhm. But I think it's just so interesting because like
That's not a qualification we want for the show. I think
cut me out. But I think like it's just I'm so curious to know what yours is, because I feel like you too have a sort of like very deep introverted side to you, but like you're able to turn it on. Like I think that's like what it means for me, is that like technically I like to be alone and I can occupy myself for great lengths of time alone, and I sort of need that, but by the same token like I can turn it on when I want to or when I need to. Like the extroverted, you know, person in me, or like the charisma. Like I feel like I could just do it. But I also, so I'm just like so curious like what yours is. I want you to do it. Your homework is that you need to take the test and then come back next episode and tell us all what your personality is. You
Oh,
two peaks.
I've taken the test. I've taken the test.
You have?
Yeah, I don't know what I am though.
Well, take it again.
I know it's I. Sorry.
You know you're an I?
Yeah.
Okay, well. Okay, I could have told you that.
Tell our viewers where they can take the test.
That's a really good question.
Google Myers-Briggs personality test. You will absolutely be able to find one immediately and take it. It's very easy. It's a good way to find out just a couple of things, but it's also just an enjoyable test.
I think it's just so fun to see. And then you can go to all your friends and be like, what's your Myers-Briggs? And they'll be like, oh, I'm a whatever. And you're like, oh, well, I'm a, It's great for dating sites, dating profiles.
As much as I do love Myers-Briggs, I think we have to get back to Paul.
This was
I'm
about
here for the
Paul.
I'm here for the Paul Santos test, not the Myers-Briggs test.
Okay, Paul, back to you.
So, Paul, I do want to keep going on kind of your work ethic. You said because you said for a while it was what kind of made you forget about your anxiety.
Yeah.
Do you still think you you throw yourself into work to get out of anxiety, and like what are some ways that you think you might be able to kind of let yourself relax every once in a while, or what are some ways you have been letting yourself relax every once in a while?
I guess like now I'm learning how to cook. That's like my therapy now. Like I cook a lot. I research a lot of like YouTube recipes, and I literally just go to the supermarket and like I start it from scratch, and I just like cook, and like I do that every morning and afternoon. So I go for a run like 5 a.m. and then I do like a little bit of yoga, and then at 8 a.m. I go to like the supermarket, and then I just think of recipes. So yeah, and then yeah, and then I just
Wow.
really, like I cook like a lot of Korean food, a lot of Japanese food. I'm learning how to cook Indian food now. So
Oh,
Oh, a little. Ooh, that's some
like
good stuff.
I always have to keep myself busy, or else I'm gonna think about myself, and then I'm gonna be depressed. So it's just like it's hard for me. I can't just sit still. Like I can't like it's even doing yoga and doing meditating, it's really hard for me. But like
But
I, like I just learned this on Whitney Cummings podcast was like there's this thing as what I didn't even know I was doing it was that there's this thing as moving meditation, which is basically when you basically or when basically when you just walk outside, or even when you just sit in your car and you just see things moving when you're like sitting in the car, that's also called meditation, you know? So
things
oh,
going on, stuff moving around you while you are sedentary, I guess.
yeah, or when you're just going on a road trip and you just sit down on like the car and just see things moving, and that's also it's called moving meditation. So yeah, and it's really therapeutic for me, and it's just you know I can't just sit still. Because like if I sit still, I'm gonna think about all the bad things that happened to me, and yeah, and I have to either walk or run or something like that. So I have to see things move. So,
And do
yeah.
you speak with any professionals?
huh?
Do you speak with any professionals about anything?
Well, I had a therapist in LA. I speak to her like at least like once a month. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to find a therapist here now in the Philippines. But it's really hard because it's like
Yeah.
like even in like LA or like San Francisco, it was really hard for me because like I feel like finding a therapist is like dating because it's just like you have to find the right one, you know.
And
So
So
there's so
true.
many. Yeah.
like you
Dating, but it can be more expensive if you don't have the right insurance.
no,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, and, yeah.
So all along, I'm sorry, I can't stop. I'm gonna have questions as long as I
Yes,
can.
keep asking
Um,
questions.
but as we do know, we will wrap it up within the next 10 minutes here. But I do want to kind of touch back on what you just said and how you answered my last question. You said like if you stop, if you sit down, if you have nothing to do, all these bad thoughts start creeping in. Um, all this like depression you said starts creeping in. Uh, are there any ways you have figured out that have made this at least slow down a little bit? Is it better than it used to be in the past? Or is leaving yourself alone getting only worse and worse?
I think it's getting worse. To be honest, it's just like I I don't know. I don't want to think about it, and the only way I don't think about it is if I do something. Like if I keep myself active, because that's what my brain I guess is used to. You know, it's like I have always worked like such long hours, had so many different kind of jobs, and like hustled throughout my life. And I guess my brain was just so used to that, and that now this pandemic, like it made my life still, and
Mhm.
yeah, and it's just like it made me really think about myself and my mental health, and you know and still music is still saving me right now. Every time I like don't do anything, and I feel like the days are getting longer, like you know what I mean, because like I would wake up so early, and then I would be like, why is it only 1 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to be up at 4 a.m. every morning because we're messaging at 4 p.m. and you always are messaging at 4 a.m. and then at 10:30 or midnight comes around and you're still messaging. So I'm confused at when you sleep. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but
It's like, yeah, it's hard for me to sleep even, like like I can't get a full 8 hours of sleep. I probably only sleep like 2 to 3 hours a day. So it's really
Yeah.
hard. It's
Is this
like,
something that you find to be like sustainable as a coping sort of mechanism, or do you think that like balance is something that you want to work into the mix, or are you like, I mean, your work ethic is like unparalleled. Like what Peak said, like I feel like you're always doing work, which is amazing, and I wish that you could infuse some of that into my life. But like I feel like if what you're saying is
Would be
like,
nice.
you know, your work ethic sort of like takes over and it's sort of like a way that you are able to like get through the day without like having a lot of those like anxious thoughts come in. Like, do you ever try to work in some balance, or do you think that like this is something sustainable for you?
I would like to have it in a balance. Like I would love to have just a still day for me where I can just not do anything. Cause like, I was like, I was always that kid where I would always be so active. Like I would, and like I can't keep still. Like like even in like elementary, like I was the kid who can't keep still. Like, and it's kind of hard, but I would love to learn how to do that and just relax. Like I can't relax. Like,
Weed.
Oh,
Weed.
I wish I could get that here, but now, I can't because, I'll
yeah.
get killed.
Yeah, seriously. No, it's true. Sorry, keep going. But yeah, I love that question. It's really important to see if your coping mechanism is currently
Yeah.
effective.
Sustainable.
Yeah. I mean, I wish, man, like, like I tried to, do better on yoga and like meditation and stuff like that. Still trying to learn, but like, it's really hard for me just to think to have peace on my,
Yeah.
so
I feel like sometimes when I'm like you described little sleep and like what it's so hard. Sometimes it's harder for me to get to sleep because I'm anxious about sleeping, like not being able to sleep.
yes.
Like I want to sleep so bad that I'm unable to sleep because I can't stop thinking about wanting to sleep. Like
Yes, I get that a lot. And it's
the worst.
I think it just happens when you have something also important in the morning, or not even important, just something in the morning that you have to be up and at it for. And if you don't get to bed now, you're going to be dead for it. So you're like, I have to get to bed. And your mind's just like, fuck you.
Literally every time.
Yeah.
Hey, you ever seen a man build a pool underground? Well, it's going to be awesome. And you're going to spend the next 30 minutes doing that. So but, that's awesome. And Paul, was there anything else you wanted to kind of touch on? You thought that we maybe missed because of all the questions or anything like that?
I guess just, if anybody that's, if any of our viewers are going through the same thing, like, feel free to reach out to us, share your story. We're always so open to, seeing other people's experiences, so we would love to hear your story. And I sure would love to hear your guys' story and your experiences, because, I love to fix things.
Yeah.
Some people are like handyman. I'm more of like a mental handyman.
A mental handyman. I like it.
A good listener.
Yeah. I don't know how to build anything. Like, I'm not that type of guy who like knows how to build chairs, but I can definitely give you confidence.
I'm actually not that kind of guy either. I'm not the kind of guy who knows how to build chairs, but
I'm like, I just like never go to IKEA. I'm like, can you just build that for me and then send it as it is?
I thought it was awesome. I like last week. I was our first week ever doing this, and Sarah said, I heard stuff about you Peaks that I've never gone before, and I think it is becoming pretty obvious that that's going to be happening every single week. And also, Paul, you're talking about how great, how great it was that we were coming on and tell our stories. You're saying it was just really brave. This stuff is brave, but at the same time, the point of what we're doing is trying to make it so that it's just simple, right? It's just everyday conversation. I think our conversation today was a lot as exactly that. It was way more conversational. It was way more kind of interesting, talking about specific topics and specific problems you had, rather than just kind of me rushing through a story and going on. So I think I really like the way that you were able to kind of bring us into it, and I'm happy that we got a lot of information of questions that I wanted to know, because I still want to know so much more. And when this is done, when we cut this off, I'm probably going to have a few more for you. And I'm sure we'll put them up on social media at some point, any extra stories that Paul might have in the future. Because those are those individual stories, right? Those individual stories that everybody has that are like more so just kind of like a tidbit of exactly how your life works rather than the whole entire thing. Next week, we'll be so lucky to have the beautiful Miss Sarah States, soon to be Mrs. Sarah States. And I'm extremely excited about that one. Is there anything you guys would like to say before we sign off and say goodbye to our viewers this week?
Nothing.
Wow. Love you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Sharin Stories Podcast, at Sharin Stories Podcast. Sharin Stories YouTube account, like, subscribe, do whatever they normally do. We really do appreciate everything, and we really are looking forward to hearing some of your stories. You can always put them on the forum, or you can email us separately at SharinStoriesPodcast@gmail.com. Sharin without a G, so just SHARIN. Thank you all so much, and let's turn that mental health into some mental health.
Yeah.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.